Hey folks, Josh here, and I just wanted to do a video to talk about something I've been sort of alluding to online, but I don't think I'm explaining it well, so I thought I'd try to do it on video. Maybe it will make more sense. I've been really happy with how my planner's been working, and there are a few things that I've done that are very different from what I've done in the past. And one of them is that I'm keeping 1 week's worth of 2-page per day inserts in at a time. And so I just have the current week. It's basically, I put in on Sunday evening, I put in Monday through Sunday of the coming week. Now I've got the 2nd through, and the last spread I've got in here is Sunday the 9th. And what I really like about this is that it's really forced me to do a pretty comprehensive review of my week every week. Because I'm taking out the old pages and archiving them, I need to review them carefully. I can't rely on, I'm not going to be able to just look back at the pages to sort of remind myself what happened, when it happened. I actually need to sort of deliberately sit down and review it. So I do it kind of in 2 chunks. On Friday evening at work, I get out of work at 8 o'clock on Friday, so in the evening, at about 6:30 or so, I block out like a whole hour for planning. And so during that time, I flip back through the day pages. I review all of the notes that I've taken. I take note of any tasks that were assigned to any days that week that didn't get done and put those on a list. I go through all my meeting notes for the week and make sure that any action items on those are sort of put into the system. They're processed, they're either done or that I'm planning to do them. And then I look to, I maintain a week on 2 pages lined, and then lately, just because I've had so much stuff going on, I've been interleaving a notes page that I'm just sort of brain dumping, like throughout the week. Anything that I need to do next week or on subsequent weeks, I just write down into the weekly diary, either on a sticky note like this or just onto a whole, like I outgrew the sticky note and just inserted a new page. This is the Da Vinci paper that Tracy sent me several sheets of this. She sent me blank and lined. It's very thin and translucent, and it takes ink really well. So because it is so thin, you get quite a lot of show through, but it doesn't bleed through, and fountain pen ink works really nicely on it. So it does take a while for ink to dry, so I do have some smudged words on here, but it's generally working pretty well. But when I'm doing that review, after I've gone through the prior week and figured out what's outstanding, I then look to the coming week and see what am I planning to do. And then anything that is on the list of outstanding things from the week that's ending, I add to the list of things I need to do next week. And then I try to loosely go through and prioritize. Make sure that everything, I see what things are most important and try to highlight those for myself. And think about other sort of projects that I am working on that I'd like to sort of get moving, what the next step is. And so I do all that on Friday at work. And that's sort of a good chunk of the system. The other thing that I do is on Sunday, when I actually insert the new day planning pages in, when I do that, I copy all of my appointments. So you'll see these are all in pencil, but those are all appointments for the week. Those get copied onto their day pages. And then I start to assign out all of the tasks and projects that I plan to do that week, I start to put those onto the day pages. I either write them, usually I just write them into the task list down here, but sometimes if they're actually they're going to take chunks of time to do, I'll actually schedule them in. I'm doing all of the scheduling in pencil so that it's easier for me to adjust it as things change, because they inevitably do, especially when you're doing sort of planning the whole week out and go. Something will come up that will throw everything off, so it's important to be able to adjust things accordingly. And so that's most of the system. That's the weekly review is basically, so I'm looking at the week that's ending and identify everything that's not done. I look at the week that's coming up and see everything that I have to do, synthesize all that information, and then plot it all out onto the daily pages for the week. Once I'm in the week, I don't really look at this week's. Once I'm in the week, I work exclusively off the daily pages. I don't bother myself. If I'm adding new stuff, I only add it to the daily pages. I don't write it onto the weekly pages. So for this week, that's all that's important. The last step that I take on this is that since these pages, on today's Saturday, so tomorrow I'll take these pages out. Anything that I want to be able to refer back to from these pages, I flip to this week's weekly diary and I just jot brief notes in to indicate, on this day I submitted the report to so-and-so, or on that day I paid that bill, or whatever. Just sort of, this was the day we were closed because of a snowstorm, and etc. So if I need to look back, like when I'm doing timesheets, if I'm trying to remember which day was it that we were closed for snow, I can look back and I can see we were closed on Wednesday for snow. So I've always tried to do a weekly review, and if you're not doing one, I highly recommend it, because it really it frees you up. It's like you don't have to worry so much. As long as you write it down somewhere where you'll see it when you do the review, you don't have to worry so much about, you can let it go, because you know that you're going to capture it then. So if it's something that's not urgent, that you definitely need to get to, but you don't need to do it right now, you can just write it on your list for the next week or wherever. I write lots of stuff. I'm very free with this notes page here about just writing whatever. And then when I do that weekly review, I go through all of it and just figure out what is, what's important. What do I need to move forward? So, but it was always really difficult for me to establish the discipline of doing this every single week in a thorough fashion. I think that, it tended to be something I would procrastinate on and then do in a rushed form at the last minute on like Sunday late at night when I just didn't have a lot of energy for it. Or I would be sort of, I would intend to do it at work, but then the work day was busy, and so I wouldn't do it at work, and then I wouldn't think to do it at home because I hadn't planned to. I think that to some degree, the swapping of the daily pages every week forces me to do some degree of it, and assigning it in two chunks, one at work and one at home, helps me sort of transcend that dilemma about, honestly, my work planning, my planner is used primarily for work. I use it, all my personal stuff is in here too, but my work planning is much, much, much more involved and takes up most of the capacity of the system is devoted to work planning. Occasionally, a few times a year, personal stuff gets very busy and I start to use this more for personal stuff, but for the most part it's an appointment book, a phone book, and like a personal to-do list that is incorporated into a planner that's mostly for work planning. So by doing a little bit at home, sort of the heavy lifting, the heavy review part is done at work, and the part at home is more just the transcribing and getting everything onto the day pages. That works really well for me. The only thing the tweak I'm going to make to this system is I keep my planner pages at home, and sort of the archived ones and the coming week's ones I'm keeping at home. And I decided that works better for me. It's I tried keeping them at work for a while last year, but I found that it wasn't intuitive. It's like it didn't feel right to me. So, and I have no ability to verbalize what I mean by that. It wasn't right. So, but the problem is that, you know, if when I did that review, if I did not write something into the weekly diary that happened, that subsequently comes up, it's only happened in the past month. It's happened one time that there was something that I knew that I had done either the week before or the week before that, and I had no indication of when it happened in the pages in the planner or when I was at work. So what I think I'm going to do, we have a very powerful book scanner at work. It's a nice machine, and I can just lay this out on the bed and press scan, and it just scans across, press scan, and, you know, turn the page, scan, turn the page, scan, and so I can keep a digital surrogate copy of this at work, so I can look back on a week-to-week basis. I can, you know, throw it on Evernote or whatever. But I'll have it there, and so I can refer to it if I need to. So I think especially with all these sort of stray notes that end up on these pages, that could be useful. It's like there's those moments, I know I wrote that down somewhere. I don't know if the OCR recognition is going to work very well with my handwriting. The Daytimer pages I'm using work really well for me, but the ruling is very tight. And so I'm not sure how well that will work. But anyway, if you have any further questions about this process, let me know. If you have any suggestions or tips, let me know those too. But my big tip to everybody out there is if you're not doing this, really try to give it a go. Like, say, I'm going to do this for the next month and see how it works, because it's really like juiced the capacity of my planner in a major way. I feel so much more in control. There were a lot of things that I used to kind of worry about. I'm afraid I'm writing this into my planner, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget and I'm not going to see it when I need to see it. And knowing that I'm just capturing all that stuff on a weekly basis, it's very elemental of like the David Allen's Getting Things Done system, but it really works. And if you can figure out a way to discipline yourself to make it happen every week consistently and to do it in a thorough fashion, I think that you'll find too that it's really helpful. So that's my tip for the day. I've got a couple other videos to make today, so I'll keep rolling, but I'll end this now because it's 13 minutes. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Take care.